Furina De Fontaine. We all know her, we all love her. She's one of the strongest units around no matter who you are and what units you have on your account. Her rerun is starting soon and everyone will be pulling on her banner. Except for me, because I've already maxed her out completely. Yup, C6. I'm the biggest Furina lover around, and no other person on this platform can compare. Pretty much all guides and videos, including my own, focus on Z0 playstyles and experiences. But as a certified Furina fanatic, who's a bigger whale than even Skirks, I thought I'd provide a peek into the world of C6 Furina. Today, I'll highlight all major build and gameplay differences with a C6 Furina, highlight all my favorite points about a C6 Furina, answer any common potential questions about C6 that you may have, and give a more in-depth review of her cause compared to my guide. This is different from what I usually make, so if you find this video interesting or enjoyable, please let me know, and then I can make more videos like this one. Also, please note that I'm not pressuring anyone into getting cons that they don't want. Consider this a showcase of a unique perspective that you don't see every day. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So what are all the major differences? I'll start with her build. At C2, you go from HP crit to HP Hydro crit. This is because the C2 gives Furina enough HP to cover for what the HP Goblet provided her, which then makes a Hydro Goblet more effective as she has all of the stats she needs to front-load her buffing while also making her damage more worthwhile. This is because at C0 you primarily use Furina for her buffing. Her damage only becomes super duper relevant with higher cons as opposed to being a nice bonus to your buffing. Also, her buffing is more backloaded as fanfare takes longer to build up without C1. C4 also borderline eliminates ER requirements. Like, you can run super low ER as a solo Hydro with no Favonius and get your burst back in an instant, so a lot of your subs can go in on crit and HP percent. Before C6, her gameplay is the same as always, deploying her off-field for fanfare madness, but C6 totally reinvents the wheel with her kit. Her normal's infused with Hydro, and then she can deal 7 really hard-hitting Hydro strikes. Short hair mode hits weaker, but puts more stock into her 3 guys and provides better team-wide healing. And all us long hair fans finally catch a break, because this is THE mode for nuclear damage. She gains extra HP percent scaling, which absolutely jacks up her normals and is ideal for vape setups. Build-wise, the biggest difference is that you change her set. Begone, Golden Troop, for that 4-piece Hunters is now in season. This is because it boosts her normal attacks, stack that with her superior long hair form, and the vape numbers go crazy. Another thing is that up until C5, yes, Splendor is best in slot. Not at C6 though. At that stage, you run Key of Kajnisut. Key is good on a pre-C6 Furina too, by the way. It's just upgraded on a Furina with C6 because of the passive which suits vape very nicely. Like, my god! Holy EM, and all that HP percent which Furina adores. Main con? It's damn ugly on her. Gameplay wise, the big difference is that not only does she become your main DPS, but she heals herself, so you don't need to play Furina with a team-wide healer anymore. The healing is genuinely ridiculous, allow me to show you. Notice how Venti is like half dead? I mean, it was the man's birthday not long ago as of posting, guy probably got wasted. Pay attention to how Venti gets healed when Furina attacks these guys. Also, yeah, it's a Hydro Slime deliberate choice. Genshin Impact moment. Yeah, healers become optional, which is funny since you'll almost always have a source of healing in a C6 Furina team anyway, because the other characters you use will provide her with things that she likes anyway. For example, full healthy team. C6 Furina, Bennett, Jean for Sunfire, and Pyrowap, and Xian Yun for Plunge. Literally mono healer. The copper fights have never felt more comfy. Or if I'm feeling really lazy, then I play mono Hydro. Kokomi, Furina Yalan, and Xian Yun. Kazuha works here too. During her C6 downtime, Kokomi can on-field and keep heals going on. Siegeween will soon become the new best in slot for this team, especially nice since she buffs Furina's little guys, you love to see it. Furina Vape does have some other configurations, like replacing Jean for Kazuha in mono healer so Furina can gain even more damage bonus. Yes, as if a damage bonus percent buffer needed more of that. Functionally, they're similar and Kazuha is better than Jean here, but I personally prefer Jean since Sunfire keeps application consistent. It does make AoE and multi-wave more awkward though, since Jean is still circle impact compared to Kazuha, whose burst can swirl pyro and have it applied on enemies in a much larger AoE. Or pre-Xian Yun, I just said screw it and used them both together. The Mona variant of this team, don't like it. Kinda finicky to pull off. Yeah, it's good, but have fun trying to set up 15 times if you miss your vape. I think my favorite thing about C6 Furina's gameplay is how sloppy you can be for lazy clears, while still being able to nut out zillions of damage if you want to put effort into a proper setup. That and the fact that I can make literally any character feel broken. To be honest, I think you only need C3 to achieve that effect though, since that's the extent of her cons buffing her core kit capabilities, C4 being excellent quality of life, C5 is damage, and C6 spins her kit in a very unique direction. Like, heck yeah, Furina, Bennett, Kazuha, Navia. Random garbage! Go, go, go! That's not an actual team. Please don't play it, I'm just trying to prove a point. I've spoken at length about the teams I like, but I did mention earlier about how even if Furina doesn't need healing, these teammates provide her with other things that I like. I'm sure some of you at this point have questioned why Bennett, an attack buffer, is present in teams with a majorly HP scaling unit. Okay, I'll talk about my favorite synergies. I'm gonna focus on Bennett, Jean, Kazuha, Xian, Yun, Kokomi, and Sijuin. I'll also talk a bit about Xiao and Alhaitham, two other characters I play very regularly, since she shuffles up how I play them. Bennett is interesting. I use him plain and simple because he is a good pyro applicator, and that's easy to cast. Animos can keep his pyro applied on enemies depending on how they work, and I think that's pretty neat. It's not about the buffing, though Furina has a very slight benefit from the attack buffing that he provides. She has so much damage percent that the attack scaling isn't that bad. The Bless is pretty much next to useless, 4-piece instructors in Furina Vape is infinitely more efficient, so I like it more. Jean is one of those helps apply pyro animos. We all know how Sunfire works at this stage, she simply works very comfortably for single target. All else I have to say is Jean is pretty neat, and her old skin is a lot cooler than her later on skin. Kazuha is similar, yeah, but if you nail the setup, you get a bunch of damage bonus percent. This is still great as Furina's damage bonus is ramping, and you don't get it all at once, whereas Kazuha is an upfront buff, and its pyro application which I already mentioned and explained. Xian Yun is easily my favorite C6 Furina synergy. Plunge playstyles are very strong with her, and I love this darn bird. I have C2, so plunging is stronger than regular normals. Vape numbers go crazy, and it's super convenient in every C6 Furina team, not to mention 4-piece Viridescent Venerer. What else can I say? Kokomi and eventually Sijuin enable the most junk food team I've ever played, and that's about it. Great downtime fillers. With Xiao, pairing C6 Furina with him is funny as heck. 230k plunges, anyone? She turns my Xiao into a nuke and I wouldn't have it any other way, though I do have to give some credit to my C2 Xian Yun as well. And with Alhaitham, I genuinely don't like playing Kuki Shinobu, this is just a me thing. Single character healers plus Furina just sit poorly with me. Furina lets me play Hytham, Furina, Raiden, and Nahida, since Furina does the buffing and the healing. Yeah, okay, I should just play Furina on her own at that point, but it's a silly thing that I like doing. Also, big confusion I had when I first obtained the C6. Yes, her normal attacks should be leveled. It does increase her normal's power. At first, I was told that the scaling was within the C6 itself, but the normal attacks are also really important to gear up. Here's a few miscellaneous things that I like about her. My main favorite thing? It makes my preferred Furina design actually viable. It also encapsulates literally every role into one. DPS, buffer, healer, you name it, it's Furina's my friend, as long as you have enough Primo Gems. Her overworld comfort is next to none. Focusing on C6 specifics, it's great how easily you can recharge her burst, making her feel like one of the few units I can play with their burst in the overworld, because my god, I don't know how you Raiden mains do it, burst-based characters feel balls to play in the overworld since it's always so overkill. But since all her DPS is in her skill and normals, she cleans up small mob patches with ease. She's also one of the easier C6s to play. Characters like Gon need proper execution to get the value out of their C6, whereas Furina can just pop her dudes out and get going. I wouldn't say she's as brain dead as Noivy C6, but it's up there. Plus, I like that you can pick her playstyle. You can easily play the best buffer in the game, utilizing her up to C5 to do really funny damage numbers with your other units, or you can alternatively play one of the strongest DPS characters known to man with your C6. Never a dull moment with this kit. Okay, so time for the FAQ. I've got numerous questions over my time as a dedicated C6 Furina main, so I'll answer them all here. First off, how much did I spend? £628. Half of that for the character, other half for the weapon. I got partially lucky with Furina herself, getting double 5-star twice in some of my temples. I got Baiju twice unfortunately, but I got Splendor in the end. I also saved 54,000 Primo Gems before the actual whaling took place. Second off, regret? No, I played Genshin enough to get my value out of her, but I did feel dizzy looking at the wishing screen for a few days afterwards. Furina's your favorite? Funnily enough, no, my second favorite. My number one is Venti. Reason he's C0 is because A, his cons kinda suck, but B, I'll also C6 him at some stage. I got a C6 Furina first, not because I wanted C6, but because I wanted to make Furina my main DPS. Whatever her DPS con was what I would have gotten. Yes, I know this was C2 before, you don't gotta tell me twice. I do love Furina though, obviously. Fun fact, however, Navia used to be my favorite Fontaine character. It was when I saw the long hair Furina form that totally changed my mind. Imagine a universe where I had a C6 Navia instead. What a world that would be. Are you a whale? Before Furina, I was always a low spender, welcomed with occasional battle pass. I have bought Genesis packs in the past, but in small amounts just to guarantee important characters for my account like Kazuha. I wailed for Furina, wailed for C6 Farizan, and that escapade totally put me off wailing for good. I did get C2 Xian Yan and C1 Nahida from having no Xian Yan or Nahida, so yeah, you could argue that I did get my 5 stars worth. I'm gonna have to say for C6 Venti manually. It's so over. Can I see your build? Sure, I have two. One comfy build with overcapping crit rate, and another with crit damage. Here's a card of the comfy build, and here's a card with the crit damage build. Yeah, I gotta get a better crit damage circlet, you don't gotta tell me. Will you C6 anyone else? Yes, Venti, Ganyu, and Skirk are absolute. Should I go for cons or weapons? I always, and I mean always, say cons. Every single one of Furina's cons is amazing. Like, each of them has something new to provide to her, minus C3 and 5, but those plus 3 increases are very good as well. Splendor is good, but damage on Furina only starts to matter more at C2, and you have alternatives like Ki and Page AC. Free to plays, listen, I hate fab chesting on Furina, but you can just go on Favonius and it'll work fine for team-wide energy. Do change it for a damaging weapon if you hit C4 though. So logic here is, TLDR, go for cons first because damage does not matter enough at C0 to justify getting Splendor. I'd get R1 after C2. I'm a free-to-play. Is Furina still worth it at C0? Yes, 100%. Just be aware that the priorities and build you will have will be different from someone with cons. I say this because Furina is a quote-unquote Archon, you know what I mean when I say that, and these characters are extremely popular and always have people chasing cons on them. Except Venti and Zhongli, because their cons were programmed in a dark room. Like, what is this? And I think Furina is quite worth the cons because she works in basically every team in the game, turning bad units into good ones. But C0 is absolutely enough to yield out her core value as a massive team-wide buffer. Make sure to ask various Furina owners for their opinions. Try to even find people who don't like her as much. Getting a mix of opinions is always better than listening to just one person, so you can make a more educated decision. Is Furina best girl? No. Venti. Jokes aside, yes, she is best girl and Venti is best boy, easily. I think that wraps up the most common FAQs. Please comment down below if you have more, I love answering. Alright, cons. Hopefully this section will help you all not only understand her cons more in depth, but also see the value of these cons and decide yourself if you want them or not, in case you already have Furina and have been saving for these since her last run. C1. Alright, so Furina's buff at C0 is backloaded. This means that you only get the full effects of her burst after a period of time, meaning the average buff you get is lower than maximum, as you will usually kill enemies before that buff has had time to fully max itself out. Getting 150 fanfare instantly immediately gives you a crap ton of damage bonus percent, already providing half of her max fanfare at base C0. The talent screen is only going to show you the base number, so your fanfare goes from the base 300 up to a max of 400, so not only do you access an initial blast of damage bonus percent way faster, but you also get the opportunity to gain more in extended rotations. Neat, especially nice for characters like Noivellette who max her fanfare out quickly. C2 jacks up her fanfare buff massively, and her buff is way more front-loaded on the whole now. She gains it way faster, and because of this, once you've maxed out her fanfare, she gives herself a crap ton of HP once you've went beyond the limit. Literally look at how high her HP can get. Since she has all the HP she needs now, you're able to hone in more on damage with her at this stage. I think it has more value than Nahida C2 since it works in every team as opposed to only Dendro, and is of course better than Raiden cons because those only affect one individual character, and not even all of her playstyles. C3 is simple, strengthening her burst even more. If you want to see what a level 13 Furina's stats look like, then have a look at the scalings on screen right now. C4 eliminates Favonius, and at this stage you should be running a damaging weapon even if it is just the pipe. You should not underestimate the sheer amount of ER you get from this con. Once again, if you're interested in seeing plus 13 scalings, go and have a look. Even with C6, her little guys still do pack a heavy punch, so short hair Furina does still have a place in my opinion. And then the fabled legendary C6, the financial decision of all time. For 10 seconds, all of her normal attacks, plunges, charge attacks, you name it, are converted to hydro damage, and she gains a damage increase on them based on 18% of Furina's max HP. Consider that you have C2's nuclear HP gain at this point. She also has different effects depending on her form. Short hair Furina is more comfy, causing her to heal every party member by 4% of Furina's max HP for 2.9 seconds. Don't worry too much about the duration, since every normal attack you do will re-trigger this effect, and if you consider the gargantuan amount of HP that C6 Furina has, yeah, you'll have one healthy team. I like to play this form against annoying bosses like the Copper Duo, or just when I'm feeling lazy and don't want to bother dodging properly. Meanwhile, long hair form buffs all of her normal attack-based attacks by 25%, more of Furina's max HP. So you know that 18% from earlier? Yeah, it stacks. So that's a whopping 43%. Yes, it is indeed a nuke, though note that it does not buff collisions. The con itself says that it only buffs ground impact plunges, meaning that collisions are exempt. Not like that'll matter too much anyway, since the enemy will be dead within like one plunge anyway, but with great power does come yeah, okay, this cost isn't that big of a deal. She'll drain 1% of all your party members' HP every time she does a nuclear hit like this, but because the enemy will realistically be dead in 2 to 3 hits anyway, that doesn't matter much. And if it's such a big deal, remember what I said earlier about most of Furina's teams having a competent healer anyway, for reasons other than healing, or even just switch Arcas if it's that detrimental. Furina is a rare case where I consider every single one of her constellations to be worth it. Like, there is no bad cons here, all of them are massive improvements over the last. I do think Furina has one of the best C6s in the game. I'm not sure if Arlecchino or Noivellette beat her out, but I'm fairly confident that she is at the very least on par with Yolan C6, if not evidently better. But please don't interpret this video as me saying, go get C6 Furina. This video was very experimental, and I thought that since I'm probably the biggest Furina fan on the platform, and I'm the only creator I personally know of with a C6 Furina, it might be interesting to give a full review and FAQ session on a niche subject. Most people make better financial investments than me, and don't spend a bunch of money on Genshin Impact, which is fair enough. Whale content often doesn't have a place on this platform for that reason, and when it does pop up, it's relatively niche. So this video is me taking a bit of a risk. If you did watch far enough to the point where you're seeing this message, put a tomato emoji next to whatever you comment, so I know you did, because I think you're pretty neat. Thanks for that. And let me know your genuine and honest thoughts. How could this sort of thing be better, etc, etc. I have other characters I could make unconventional reviews on closer to their time if this does do well. It's the first rerun of not only my main, but my first C6, and most likely the permanent main I'll be using for the rest of Genshin Impact, at least until Skirt comes out. I truly do love this character, and I hope I was able to get that across in this video. I'll be making a few more Furina videos soon, seeing as she's basically only a week away at this stage, and I hope you'll all be around for those. Looking forward to making them. If this video does, like, way better than I'm expecting it to, then I'll host a live stream on day 1 of Furina's rerun, in which you can ask me literally any pressing questions you may have about the character. C0 or C6, doesn't matter, I will answer. So, let's make it happen, folks. I claim this character, and will for a good long time. I hope to share the Furina love with you all, and may the bygone divinity of Focalor be with us all, because a piece of her still remains with us, with this wonderfully resilient god at heart. This has been Juice, signing out. And Venti is still the cutest Archon.